here.
Yo, yo, yo.
Hey, Mash, how's it going, man?
Not too bad. It's been a long time.
Yeah, tell me about it. Tell me about it. How you enjoying the tournament so far?
From what I've seen, everything's been going real nice. I mean, Razors are definitely feeling competitive, it seems. Definitely some wild cards for sure.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I forget that this community in particular really loves the tournament format. I feel like a lot of the time people get a little more shy around doing races just whenever, or people are busy or whatever, and they don't have an excuse to start a race. But when the tournament scene starts, everybody's ready to really throw down.
Yeah, a lot of the racers, very familiar with some of them. They've been around since, some of them since Season 1, some joined in around Season 2. They've definitely been showing up and showing their skill as they've been progressing through all the way up into Season 3 now. So it's been exciting to see the growth of some players in particular.
Yeah, and just for reference, for everybody who's watching this on stream or maybe watching on YouTube, if you don't mind introducing yourself and how you relate to Soten randomizer tournaments in general.
Yeah, so for the people that don't know, my name is Mash. Sometimes I go by Ezo Mash here on Twitch, but I was the first person to organize the Season 1 tournament that we had, and it went a long time.
Yeah,
it was several months long, in fact.
It was a long race, but honestly, it's probably some of my favorite memories of Soten Randomizer was that Season 1 race. And like the fact that it lasted so long, it honestly kind of helped develop, I think, the randomizer meta as we see it today. Because I think a lot of people wouldn't have taken the time to take to I guess just make it more serious of how to speedrun the randomizer or race the randomizer against other people. And it eventually just evolved as the randomizer evolved, so...
Yeah, for sure. Like, the meta has definitely evolved over the seasons with the updates from Mouse.
Yeah, I'm really liking the state of Season 3 in particular. I think there is just enough of the chaotic randomness as well as strategy involved, especially in the casual preset. Specifically, what the casual preset ends up doing is that it's a kind of a combination of the Season 1 randomizer where relics really do have a almost pure random distribution to them. They still fall within like logic, so you can't find a like progression relic locked behind its own gate, if you will. Like for the classic example is you can't have the Form of Mist at the Soul of Bat location. So... that's because you need the Form of Mist to get behind that gate. So every relic is obtainable in the game, so you can use that to your advantage if you are able to suss out specific, like, impossible relic locations. That's something that is very important in this logic, as well as the fact that because there's a random distribution for the most part, it becomes more of an issue of trying to get to every relic location that you have access to as fast as possible. So you're going to see an emphasis on movement a lot of the time in casual preset. And there's also just like the straight up gambles that you're used to seeing in randomizer races. So it's a combination of all of those things. And it's one of the reasons why I think I like it the most and why I decided to put it on as this particular tournament setting.
So we're going to just jump over into the racers just to talk a bit about what we just saw going on here. The Talik's got a bit of a lead. Everybody else just finished doing the Gaibon fight, so kind of expect Talik to take a little bit of a lead here, just because they are very experienced with Soten in general, and they've definitely played a lot of the randomizer over the years as it's developed, and very surprised still to see everybody else not too far behind at this point. They're doing their checks like most people will. They definitely all have a sub form of movement, which I've seen you use quite a few times back in Season 1 to do some cheeky little checks.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. The thrust sword is great for some out of logic stuff because the thrust sword isn't. It's very difficult to account for in logic because it is like an item that you can just find from a random enemy drop or just randomly placed in the castle, but it actually does give you access to some progression. So I'm 90% sure I'm going to see Talik, or we're going to see Talik, go for a thrust attack into a dive kick off of this candle coming up, and that is going to lead to the Coliseum early as well as the All Rocks Quarter teleport. So yeah, you do have to wait for it though, and oh, he's choosing not to wait. Interesting. It is kind of a gamble to do it early because you do have to wait a decent amount of time for the clock statue to open, because very likely you're going to be getting there on a on like an early cycle. So similar to like speedrunning the game normally, that clock statue opens every other minute. So if you're stuck there waiting, that's time lost just waiting for the statue to move. So
yeah, and so people opting not to use that little trick to get into Coliseum early.
Yeah.
Some of them will be passing by with it being open. They're likely to do their checks they would do along the way and head to the library, which is a good guaranteed couple checks over there.
Yeah, and they are more likely to be the next progression item because the game doesn't assume that you can get up here now, but you could still find stuff that isn't your next progression item, but still will allow for progression just out of logic. So it is a gamble, and we're seeing so far about half the racers. Yeah, half the racers going up to Coliseum now, and half going to Library.
Yeah.
In this scenario, there isn't like a right way to do it. There isn't like an optimal strategy. They're both good in their own way. I would say probably going to Library first is a tiny bit better because there are more check potential. There's more check potential there, but there's always the case where just checking the Coliseum leads to Bat or leads to Gravity Boots or something big that will then open up more checks that are immediately available to you right out of the way. So.
Yeah, not only that, if they do have the money, they'll be able to access the shop as well, which could give them some very valuable items to help with their speed throughout the run. Things like Mana Prism being a big thing. If they were able to get a duplicator out of the shop, provided it's not too expensive, that would be very helpful. But not only that, just having armor or something of a good weapon would be all right. But they all seem to be doing pretty all right with their gear.
Oh yeah,
and they're all competent runners.
Even those, the items and like the stats are randomized on the equipment in this version of the randomizer. That's one of the big things about Season 3. Just having access to Spike Breaker, so long as it gives you some amount of defense, is going to be nice. It's going to help break combos in this game. Like, when you get knocked around or tossed around by any move that does, I believe it's like more than 5 damage or something like that, it will send you flying into the air, and then you can land on top of another enemy doing another attack, or the same enemy doing the attack, depending on what it is. And you can end up getting comboed like that if you don't have access to iframes. Oh, wow. We're seeing Form of Mist at the outer wall location. That's actually pretty big, because the mist itself allows you to check everything in the library if you're proficient with some dive kick movement and some interesting like double mist technology. We'll see if that ends up coming into play for Talik. You also have a thrust sword, so you can still also misterize using the thrust sword to stop your falling momentum as well. It just costs a lot of MP, and I don't know if the runners are going to have enough MP to take advantage of that strategy right now. And then, oh, it was...
I can definitely see Talik taking advantage of the mist and the sword thrusting to access some early checks.
Interestingly enough, we're seeing that the wolf and the mist seem to have swapped places in this seed. Interesting. We saw the soul of wolf at the mist location, and then the form of mist at the wolf location. So, interesting distribution of relics here. I'm not entirely sure exactly. It's nice to get the wolf relic because it can be useful for progression, giving you access to dive kicks whenever you want, giving you access to slope jumps, which can be used to access things in like the library. And these players obviously don't know that Mist is sitting there at the outer wall, so if I was a player who did the Coliseum route first, I would feel kind of happy about getting Wolf this early, but I'm not sure if it'll end up actually being that useful, but we'll see. Oh my god, Mist and Power of Mist right off the bat in the right side of the castle. That is...
Yeah. Looks like going to library early paid off instead of detouring for other checks.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the gamble of the early game when you have access to Coliseum or going to the library first. And
yeah,
library does have...
That's gonna give them access to 2 extra checks in the library, which is gonna be pretty nice.
Yeah, these checks would have been accessible with only Mist, but it's a little bit harder overall. And the first Vlad relic coming up here for Talik. Nice. So yeah, and Jupiter not far behind. Jupiter being in the bottom right here on my stream. But yeah, that's Interesting, interesting. I want to see. Oh, Talek doesn't check the librarian, goes immediately. Oh, and right there, we're getting hit with the purple screen of death. You love to see it, so we'll never know what Talek is doing during this point. But it seems like both Talek and Jupiter are going straight for the bat check as opposed to trying to check the librarian. I usually like checking the librarian first in case of cheap mana prisms, cheap library cards, and there's a relic check down there. So. Because if you find cheap library cards, you can library card out of the boss fight after Lesser Demon, but we will see if that ends up coming into play here for these players or not. I don't think it's that much of a difference, honestly, but as we can see,
I would likely say that it's probably because they think that they don't have enough money to buy anything out of the shop, so they might be waiting to see if they get anything else from here before they decide to hit the shop.
I mean, Talek just got something that says it's a diamond. We don't know exactly the value of it. And Rib of Vlad at the bat location, already starting off 11 minutes in, and we have two Vlad relics and flight available. And it's a very powerful form of flight because it acts as a transformation as well, which it might not be the fastest form of flight, but it does give you access to essentially the entirety of the first castle that's locked behind flight. So
yeah, it is very useful to have mist that lets you avoid a lot of dangerous encounters as well as you're navigating the castle.
Yeah, honestly, I'm one of the players that in a race scenario, especially in a race with multiple people where it's not just a binary of either you win or you lose, but there's a distribution of elo based off of how high you place. You definitely want to go for, in my opinion, like some safety strats along the way. It would feel very bad that you forego getting like Power of Mist or something like that, or you just stop using it because you're like, oh, it's slow to move around as the mist, when in reality, you're fully invincible while you do it. It's worth going for. That diamond was worth 5k, so it seems like your idea of waiting to go to the library was correct here. And library cards are in the shop, and they are cheap, so...
Very beneficial play by both Talek and Jupiter here, there.
Yeah, that was just classic things lining up with the route that they decided to take, so that's awesome.
Yeah, there's some pretty good items in the shop as well.
Yeah.
At least by name, hopefully they're exactly what they say they are. But based on most of the descriptions, they're pretty good items.
They're okay. Some of the descriptions are a little misleading because the way that the item randomization works is that the sprite is randomized, the name is randomized, and the stats are randomized, as well as the attribute of the weapon is randomized. So if a weapon, for example, has like the ability to seal, like soul seal on hit, that attribute is randomized, or the ability to slow enemies down like the stone sword would, or turn enemies into jewels like the jewel sword, that stuff is randomized in as well. So sometimes when a sword says like steals the souls of enemies, that's not actually accurate, and at that point you're basically just looking, it'll tell you that it's a good hitbox on the weapon, but it won't tell you if it actually steals souls or not. So it's just like a little extra thing to keep in mind when it comes to item randomization, that you can't just rely on the description to give you the exact weapon that you think it's supposed to be.
Yeah, it's like with the changes in Season 3, like it definitely kind of keeps everybody on their toes when they're going through the castle, for sure.
All right, and it looks like the racers are kind of all in the right side of the castle now. The outer wall alongside with the library, so everybody's pretty close. And honestly, God's Child here isn't too far behind Talek and Jupiter here, and has already done an extra check in the Colosseum, so...
Yeah, I mean, Daigon's just finally getting around to doing the library checks as well, so...
Still?
I mean, they're all on the right side of the castle, but Talek and Jupiter definitely have a bit of a lead on the other two at the moment.
Yes, so nothing so far out of reach. Like that first decision to go either to the Colosseum or to the library first didn't make so much of a difference that somebody's completely out of the running. That can happen in randomizer. Sometimes you make a decision 10 minutes into the run and it just screws you over for the whole run if you get extremely unlucky. So it's nice to see that everybody's basically still in it, you know? They also have access to wolf movement, which if you're proficient with wolf movement, if you're looking at Daigon's screen here, able to skip some of these enemies using this wolf movement, which can end up, barely messes it up at the end there, but you can end up saving time that way if you're very proficient with it. Because the wolf maintains its fast speed. It's like similar to a shield dashing speed, but it also maintains it in the air. So if you're going over some rough terrain, it actually ends up being faster to be in the wolf transformation a lot of the time. But there is a risk reward. You have to make sure that you don't get hit along the way, because getting kicked out of the transformation is quite slow.
Yeah, until they get the other power for the wolf. The wolf is still going to be useful, but not as useful as it would be if it was a faster wolf. But
Yeah.
I mean, it'll be used if they find it to traverse some of the longer hallways and stuff.
Oh no. Talik just barely running out of MP here. Thankfully, because
he's gonna have to wait.
Thankfully, having Power of Mist, the actual MP usage at the startup for the Mist is like negligible. It's very, very low. So you literally just need like 2 MP. So waiting 2 seconds to get enough MP to go up a ledge isn't that big of a deal. Whereas if you didn't have access to Power of Mist, you have to wait until you have at least 15 MP, and that's to do a quick mist. To do a full mist, I believe it's 30 MP total. So
it can drain your bar pretty fast without Power of Mist.
Yeah, that's honestly one of the main reasons why I personally always try and pick up Power of Mist when I see it, because the MP requirement for a full mist is so high, and there are certain locations where you just want to do a full mist, or if you're slow on like mist batting or something, you'll lose a ton of MP. Whereas when you have Power of Mist, you never really have to worry about that. You just kind of get to mist for free, and you lose a tiny bit of MP as you are flying around, so it's not nearly as punishing.
I'm finding it pretty interesting that Jupiter's actually going back now with his Power of Mist and his full flight, and he's gonna go. I think he's heading back to the Alchemy Lab to do those checks there, rather than going up to.
I think Colosseum is probably more likely, because Jupiter hasn't checked Colosseum yet, and Jupiter's going to find the wolf relic there.
Yeah, and from that point, though, it'd make more sense to check Alchemy or turn around. I don't know. He's going all the way up the clock, though, so...
Oh, yeah, that's true. This is a check that is available with flight, so that makes sense. I usually prefer saving these checks for a little bit later, by teleporting back to Castle Entrance, either from... Castle Keep or from Alrox's quarters or something like that. But I mean, this isn't necessarily a bad route by any means. It all just depends on what relics you end up finding. And right there, not finding anything at the Gravity Boots location still has the potential if... Yeah, waiting for the clock. It seems like Jupiter's gonna commit to doing Colosseum and maybe Aurochs quarters afterwards, because Aurochs quarters is available with Mist and Power of Mist. So
it will drain quite a bit of his MP on the climb up there, provided he doesn't need to use it. Get past the 2 tough enemies at the start of the game. If you don't have good enough gear, they can definitely put a damper on your parade.
The brothers. So many runs have been lost to those 2 enemies. We'll point them out on Jupiter's screen if he passes them, but it's the like hammer dude and then like the blade dude that are like in that hallway. They are notorious for like killing early game runs when you decide to go up to Auroch's quarters early.
There's a lot of powerful enemies up here.
Yeah. Oh my god, every heart max up in this room possible for Talik. But Talik's still finding, and on top of it, the heart of Vlad. It's a little symbolic if you really think about it.
Yeah, Talik already having 3 relics. Everybody else sitting at 2. It's got a bit of a lead on everybody else doing the route that he's doing. It's a pretty typical route, I would say. Like, as far as someone who's, raced a lot back in Season 1. This is normally the kind of route you would take.
This is this is reminiscent of a Season 1 route for sure. All things considered. And I think that gives Talik a decent edge, because he's been around for all of the different randomizer meta, and this being closer to Season 1 in a lot of ways, where I think Talik really did have... he was in his most comfortable racing, so I think this could end up being a good format in general for Talik. I've been telling people to watch out for him. As long as he doesn't forfeit a race, he's guaranteed to get top 2 or top 3, I swear.
Yeah, Talik is definitely one of those runners that... He's very good at the game, but I mean, he's done some mistakes that I've seen in some races way back in Season 1, but I mean, still played really strong, and he's definitely a player that you want to be aware of.
Yeah, this is the route that I agree with the most from Talik. Like, everything that he's done so far, I think is exactly what I would have done, maybe barring the 50-50 between... going to Colosseum early or going to Library early. That really is a coin toss a lot of the time, which one ends up being better. But I'm starting to believe that it's probably always better to go for the outer wall first. Thank you, Jin. Thanks for the sub, man. How's it going?
It's a little hard to ignore the library checks and the outer wall just because, like, it's so many checks for so little time.
Yeah.
And compared to, like, heading into Coliseum and then needing to backtrack out.
Especially if you find Mist early. Like, that's one of the things that I think keeps the right side from being too over-centralizing in the meta, honestly, in a situation like that, is because if you don't get Mist, then you have to come back to the library at some point, and then if you go back to the library and there is, like, without library cards, it ends up being very, very slow. But this is a seed that has both Mist available early and library cards available early. So this is just, like, a perfect seed for choosing to go to the library early.
We can definitely see, like, hopefully some divergences. We actually have God's Child going right back to the start here.
Using
check
flight.
the first relic.
Yeah. Talik's going there as well. So, God's Child having done Coliseum and not Castle Keep yet, but Talik not doing Coliseum, but has done Castle Keep, but they're still basically neck and neck here. So a lot of the differences in routes can end up converging a lot, which is one of the things that I find the most interesting about watching every racer's perspectives, is that some really crazy divergences early on will end up leading to similar... Oh, wow, that's actually kind of huge. Jewel of Open.
Jewel of Open is a nice pickup. That opens up all of the cavern at this point, especially with them having flight.
Oh yeah, that's the caverns is a very God, how do I describe it? It's a awful place a lot of the time to go early, but once you have a couple relics under your belt, it's actually not that bad. The route for caverns is pretty straightforward. The big things that you do need to worry about with going to caverns, though, is if you don't have access to Merman statue, there is an extra check that you're going to need to come back to check later, possibly, depending on if it's a Vlad relic or not. That's usually one of the scarier things to keep in mind with the caverns. If you don't have flight, there's also a couple of other places like the succubus fight you don't have access to, and some other things. So overall, caverns can be quite scary, but with this loadout, it's not too bad. You're basically only missing Merman statue here.
Yeah, that's the only thing they can't check down there would be Merman statue. They have access to all the other sections they would want to check down there. So we have Jupiter here that already finished checking Orlox. Doesn't seem like they found anything useful after killing him.
No.
So he's likely going to make his way down and then do the secret check from the breakable wall down there and then head out maybe that way.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
Probably to go to Castle Keep. That's a pretty standard route to use Aurox's quarters as like a hallway between the chapel and Castle Keep to get there and then get the teleporter and all that fun stuff. Because the Castle Keep, you do need to get there eventually. That is the one place you got to go if you want to get to the second castle. So opening that teleporter is a very efficient way to make sure that you can get to the second castle quickly once you're ready. The one downside is, this might not be a downside anymore. Oh, Merman statue here. Interesting. So that's usually
pickup.
So now this is an interesting scenario. I remember there was a lot of talk in season 1 about what is optimal when you have Jewel of Open and you need to either choose to go to the caverns or go to Aurox's quarters, right? Because I think in this case, Talik's going to go to Aurox's quarters because he's going to be able to check Silver Ring out of logic as long as he has a way to gain some invincibility frames, because all you need is either Bat or Mist and Power of Mist. Obviously, you need Mist to get past the Mist Gate, but...
Yeah, like having Jewel of Open and then having also, access to Merman statue at this point. Yeah, provided they all grab those before they head down to caverns or before they decide to go anywhere else, it could turn the tide with this race for sure.
Yeah.
It clears up quite a few checks.
Yeah, I could see things... There is a world where Talik decides to go to the caverns first, but just the poise of his route here, it wouldn't make sense for him to go caverns first. It seems most likely that this is going to be... he's going to check Gravity Boots, and then he's going to go into Aurox's quarters to check both the Coliseum check, which he hasn't done yet, and the... as well as the Aurox quarters checks that are available there.
So, God's Child and both Talek have gone back, done the alchemy checks, and they both have gravity boots now. So that's a big deal.
Yeah, Gravity Boots is great for just getting height quickly. It's going to mitigate some of the slowness of flying around with the mist here. Oh, God's Child, I'm just checking in on his perspective as well as Daigon. They both have what appears to be Dark Shield, and it seems to have the vanilla effect of being a shield with a hitbox that is, it's honestly really great to have. Because if you have a shield with a hitbox, you don't actually have to stop your momentum to fight enemies a lot of the time if the shield one hits. You just turn around, pull up the shield, and just keep going with your momentum forward. It's a tiny bit faster than jump slashing or jump punching or whatever you end up doing here. So it's one of the it's a nice find if you can find it. So
yeah, so Talek, like you said, is going to check do the checks here in the Coliseum, then probably heading to Orlox. Makes no sense why he wouldn't do this at this point.
Yep, makes sense. And one of the nice things about saving Gravity Boots in conjunction with going to Aurochs quarters is that you can manipulate the statue in a way that is beneficial to the player a lot of the time, where you essentially you go to check Gravity Boots immediately, and if the statue is open by the time you exit the room to check Gravity Boots, so long as you don't touch the floor back in the main clock room, the statue will never close on you. So you just have to fly around without touching the floor. And even if you're on the wrong clock cycle, you can still end up making it into Aurochs' quarters. So it ends up being a nice little safety strat there. Sorry, it's going below the middle of the clock. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, a lot of the, everybody's kind of a little bit all over the place right now, but I mean, as far as relic collections go, they're all fairly close together.
Yeah, seems like it. I do like that Talek has missed now that he's going into the Coliseum, and that's going to give him access to just grabbing the Wolf Relic immediately, not having to mess around with fighting Minotaur and Werewolf, which the other racers that decided to go here early, they did have to fight Minotaur and Werewolf, so that's like a good minute time difference right there.
Yeah. So Talek, again, still holding his lead. Very strong player. I mean, I expect no less from a player like Talek, to be honest. I know when he played in Season 1, he was a really strong opponent, and most people feared him when they went up against him.
Oh yeah, I honestly didn't expect to beat him, to be honest. I thought he was going to take the whole tournament.
Yeah, I believe a lot of the times you were thinking, oh, I'm just going to lose to Talek. I'm just going to lose to Talek. And then you actually beat Talek, and it's like... Everybody was surprised.
I think the biggest factor for Talek's success in this tournament in general is going to be how well he deals with frustrating seeds, because there are seed combinations that are just downright despicable. We saw that at the very start of the tournament. I don't think I got a chance to stream those matches at all, but there was like 2 seeds that were like horrible, required so much backtracking, required so many like guesses, and if you guessed correctly you would end up saving like tens of minutes over your opponents. It's like seeds like that tend to tilt Talek, and he has to just resist the tilt if he wants to at least make it into the final bracket, because both of those seeds I believe he ended up forfeiting. So yeah,
you can definitely get some interesting seeds where things can get a little bit more complicated, especially with the new logic. The seeds can definitely put it that way, because with the new logic updates, if I'm correct on this, there was 2 new possible locations in both the first and second castle.
Oh yeah, that's going to be
have relics.
Those are the guarded locations. In fact, there's a third one now in the second castle behind the Castlevania 3 trio, the fake Castlevania 3 trio.
Yes, I forgot about that update.
A lot of people forget about them. I've done races where I've straight up just forgotten that they have relics now. So it's the newest relic location added to the randomizer, and with that, basically every boss has the potential to be seen in the randomizer now, because they were the last like boss fight that was like, oh, you never need to go here because there's, it's like a hallway to go pass through, but there wasn't anything that they necessarily blocked. Where like some optional bosses like Karasamon, for example, block access to Castle Keep if you decide to go from that direction. So you end up seeing Karasamon a decent amount of times. I'm trying to think if there's any other quote-unquote optional bosses. Oh, Doppelganger 40. We see Doppelganger 10. We see Doppelganger 10 a lot in the first castle, but if you have flight before getting there, you just to skip him. So.
Yep, so we only have one player without Merman Statue, one player without Jewel of Open still. So we both have God's Child and Talik with basically a full kit at their disposal.
I wonder if God's Child, because he has everything he needs to check. Oh, he has Spikebreaker. They started with Spikebreaker. Duh. Yeah, he has everything he needs to check Silver Ring. So I think he's going to be the first to check Silver Ring in this scenario.
Yeah, he's already heading up there. So.
Oh, yeah.
Talik's probably heading that way as well.
Oh, yeah, he's right behind. So.
Like, they're really close together now.
Yeah, interestingly enough, I think the major difference is that Talik has already visited Castle Keep, but in this moment, they're essentially neck and neck, so...
Yeah, God's Child is down one relic. He doesn't have Heart because he didn't go all the way up the right-hand side to do the check.
Getting Power of Wolf here is not bad. That's going to open up a lot of movement possibilities for the players, so... Just powering up the Wolf, making sure that you can go faster. It takes a little bit of charge-up time since they don't have the skill of Wolf in combination with it, but still, you love to see it if you already have Wolf. Any upgrade to the Wolf at that point is great. Oh, Talik opting to library card from here. Okay, I like it. Saves a lot of time on backtracking. I'm not sure if this ends up being faster to get to the caverns. It might be. It might be. It's a toss-up for me. I
mean, he's already visited the library. He already has library cards and stuff. He maybe just wants to do another check in the shop there. There's those mana prisms. He might be wanting to stock up on those, and it looks like he's going to.
That's not a bad idea to get a couple of those, as well as make sure that you're stocked up on library cards for the rest of the seed as well.
Yeah, because they're still missing 2 relics that we don't know where they are yet, and they still don't have Silver Ring.
Yeah.
So there's still a few more checks to do at this point, and they're almost all in the cavern at this point.
Yeah. None of them have access to the second castle. Nobody's found the Holy Glasses yet. Again, the Holy Glasses can be literally anywhere, so...
Yeah, I mean, they're 30 minutes in, just over 30 minutes in, and I mean, they already have a good arsenal of the relics at their disposal, and they have access to mana prisms and library cards out of the shop. So, I mean... Provided the players make a stop at the shop and pick up those items, that will help greatly throughout their trek through the castle to find the rest of the relics and stuff they're missing.
Yeah, honestly, it's still kind of a... I would say Talik has a slight advantage, but everybody else is pretty close behind, depending on the route that they end up taking from here on out.
Yep. No one's gone down a cavern. In fact, be surprised if no one starts heading down there at this point.
Yeah, I think Talik's on his way to caverns now because it's the last leg of the castle left to explore for him.
I mean, he did teleport using the library card, and so like he just needs to make a beeline for it, which is exactly what he's doing. Yeah. God's Child needed to check the top rightmost and Dracula's Keep to the relic checks up there, so of course they went that direction as far as checking those relics. So he's a little bit behind Talik in that regard.
But afterwards,
again, like you said,
yeah, afterwards,
like everybody's routes will end up diverging at some point or another.
Yeah, after that point, he will need to go to the caverns afterwards because I believe that's the last place he has left to check. So, not terribly far behind Talik, maybe like a minute or two, depending on movement and execution. But we also see Jupiter entering the caverns just a slight bit before.
Yeah, the Jupiter's already gone into caverns, heading to Succubus.
I think Talik might end up making up the time, though, because he went out of his way to get Power of Wolf first. So he's going to end up being able to move a tiny bit faster in a lot of these sections. So we'll see. Talik opting not to do the item checks here either. Interesting. Is he going to do these ones? The ones that are convenient, I see. Extra library card could be nice if it is one. Yeah, that's fine. Saves them a little bit of cash. And they are entering the boss fight essentially at the same exact time. Wow. That's crazy. On my screen, it's like frame for frame. I know there's a little bit of delay, but on my screen, it's like...
Yeah, they're in the boss fight at the exact same time. It's pretty funny, actually.
That's crazy.
So Jupiter downs Succubus, it looks like, first. And Talik not too far behind
Yeah, not bad at all. This is still extremely close. And again,
it
Talik
looks
does
like-
have a small
It
advantage.
looks like holy glasses.
Yeah, that's holy glasses.
Yeah.
Any
Yep, holy glasses.
any headband, headpiece equipment that drops from a boss is essentially guaranteed to be holy glasses. So,
The fact that I saw it as stone mask
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of tripped me up there for a second, but yeah, they both have holy glasses, so that's great. Now they just need to find Silvering, and potentially they could do the check the bottom of the clock room before they actually leave first castle. But I
yeah,
mean, there's
this
still a
has
few
the
more checks
potential.
to do.
This has the potential to be a first castle that is fully cleared, which in a lot of cases ends up being just like a nice peace of mind thing where you don't have to second guess yourself like, oh no, maybe I need to go back to the first castle to check holy glasses, but if I do that, but it's actually not at holy glasses, I'll end up wasting a lot of time. It turns into this really weird guessing game where a lot of the time it's not optimal to do so, but at the end of the day, it's randomizer, so the last Vlad Relic can be anywhere. So if the last Vlad Relic is at holy glasses, it would be, or if there is a Vlad Relic, I should say, if there is a Vlad Relic at holy glasses, it would be very beneficial to these runners to check there before leaving the first castle, but
Yeah, I mean, like if they've already activated the teleporter in the keep, then it make perfect sense to go and check that on their way out.
yeah.
But only a few runners have gone up there, I believe. Maybe all of them have at this point.
Oh, I just realized that Talik did Scylla first before checking what's that holy symbol. Interesting. I'm of the opinion that it's probably optimal to save split before checking holy symbol and do that first, and then if it's nothing, reset and then do Scylla afterwards. But it doesn't really matter. It's probably like a maybe 10-15 second difference.
Yeah, using the save split to save you some time from the backtracking if it's
Another library
not a good
card.
relic.
Oh my goodness, there's so many library cards
right.
in this seed. So these runners are not going
Yeah.
to be limited by movement at all at this point. And yep, not
So-
being able to use the save split because I don't think he just opted to just not save split, and that's going to be a chunk of time lost.
Didn't save split. Scylla was a dud as far as a relic goes, and so was the merman statue check.
Wow, that's crazy. Interestingly enough, Jupiter also missing out on the save split as well. That could have been what he needed to help gain on Talik, because Talik not only has extra checks on him, is also, well, at risk of dying here. I really hope he has some form of high potion.
He saved himself.
Oh, 4
Bless.
HP difference. That was honestly very close. It's so embarrassing when because it's faster to leave the ferryman behind and just shield dash through the water. But if you don't have holy symbol, you're at risk of dying there. So it's always embarrassing to be like, no, I'm going to be faster, and then end up dying in the water slowly drowning.
Would have been really convenient if when the Orman got over there and he did that check that it was actually a holy symbol, but it wasn't.
Interesting.
So
not going.
both Talik and Jupiter heading over to the left side to do the rest of the checks in the cavern here.
I wonder if Talik is opting to skip the merman statue check because he's not doing a save split here. Normally, it's unless you have like bat and infinite mana prisms, for the most part, save splits are a very consistent and easy way to just mitigate time loss in a lot of these sections. So I'm the only reason that I would opt not to do another save split is either I forgot to do it, or it's just I'm confident in not needing one. But I don't know. I really don't know about this. I'm a little worried.
I mean, Talik's pretty confident most times with his play. It's usually afterwards when he criticizes his own play that he realizes he made lots of mistakes. At least from all the runs that I have seen him do.
That is a fair assessment overall. What is? Oh, Jupiter went back up for an HP max up. I guess, top your HP off. Why not? So everybody here in the caverns at the same time. That is pretty crazy.
Yeah. So both God's Child and we have Daigon going to check the
God's
going to
Child.
check holy symbol.
God's Child opted to do the save split. That's gonna help him out a little bit. gain a little bit more leeway over Daigon here. Unless Daigon also decided to do the save split again.
No, it looks like he's gonna do that. Yep. So
Fire.
looks like he made a save split.
Yeah, this is a big, I would call it a mistake not doing any of these save splits in the caverns here, because these relics were all useless, and those save splits would help you a lot with backtracking and just speeding up the process, so.
Yeah. So all of these relics being not something that we need, they're going to head underground at this point.
Makes sense, makes sense. Yeah, the caverns, it's just one of those places where moving through the caverns when you don't have bat is quite slow. It could also be quite dangerous if you don't have Holy Symbol available or any means of like refilling your health, because the damage you do take over time to the water can be difficult or dangerous. There's also just enemies that have the random chance to really like ruin your day, like frogs and other things like that. So,
man, everybody hates those frogs.
They are awful, that is for sure.
Alright, so we got Talik here luring over DK, breaking open the underground. So there's 3 checks down here that Talik can do.
Yep, you have the check at Demon Card, you have the check at Spikebreaker, and you have the check behind a Grand Falloon. So,
yep.
The interesting, I guess, choice that a lot of runners have to deal with is, do they go to Spikebreaker first, or do they go to Grand Falloon first? So, I think it's kind of a toss-up what ends up being faster if you have to do both, but I think going to Grand Falloon first ends up being faster by a small margin, so.
Yeah, it's a shorter distance to get to the boss to do the check there than it would be to go all the way down to Spikebreaker, just because you would have to loop back around unless you made a save split.
Yeah. So far, the entirety of the caverns has been a waste of time. I haven't seen anything progression-wise, except for it was the Holy Glasses at Succubus, right?
Yeah,
that was the
Holy
only
Glasses
thing.
were at Succubus. Like they still need the Silver Ring in order to potentially have a full clear first castle. If they don't find Silver Ring down here, then that means they're gonna have to come back potentially when they get to second castle later.
Yeah. The reason, Jin, that I was talking about the save split for the waterfall section is, yes, you can gravity jump up the waterfall, and it is MP costly, and on top of it, the shield dashing to get back to the waterfall from the actual check, where Merman Statue normally is, that alone is like a 30-second movement trek to like pass through there, and then you're using all of your MP on the gravity jumps up there, so it's just like, there's a chance for that to be faster, but the save split is just so much more consistent. I usually recommend like not going for that save split if you have bat available, but in cases where you don't have bat available, it's a lot harder. Is there any chance of getting Soten Rando Race at GDQ? Man, I've been trying. I've been trying for like 3 years, dude. Maybe this is the year, who knows?
We've definitely had rando races in some capacity showcased at other smaller marathons over the years.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely the randomizer in general, which is always really cool to show off and explore and present to an audience, because it really is exciting, to be honest. As someone who, has been pretty much only playing the randomizer, at least a lot back in Season 1 and a bit into Season 2, it was my most enjoyable time with the community as well.
Oh yeah, I think the randomizer in particular helped reinvigorate the Soten community in a lot of ways, because, oh my goodness, absolutely nothing in the behind Grand Falloon. Wow. Anyways, to finish
Caverns looking very bare right now.
To finish my thought, specifically, the Soten community is, it's not the biggest community in speedrunning at all, but we're very passionate about our game. We do love to see the game get optimized in a lot of different ways, and I think there just wasn't anything new happening in Soten for the most part for a decent amount of time, as Romscout kind of being the community leader that he has been, kind of stepping away from the game due to personal, he has a job, he has a family, he has his own life going on. As we all get older, we can't dedicate the same amount of time we used to playing video games, but I think the randomizer helped a lot of people just, get involved, do a race here and there, and, they don't have to worry about, oh, I have to practice this frame perfect trick and do like resets on this really difficult speed run where you only have like a 10% chance of finishing. Instead, we just get a chance to just like boot up the game, try and have some fun, maybe get screwed over by randomness, and talk shit the whole time. So it ends up being a much better experience, I think, overall for most people. And then it also
have gas cloud all the way down by where the spike breaker was.
Oh,
so,
no.
Yeah, Cavern's looking very bare.
It was literally just
like
the holy glasses.
Literally nothing.
Yeah.
Literally nothing down here but the holy glasses at Succubus.
Yeah, that does happen sometimes, and it's still better in a lot of cases to have done these checks early as opposed to doing them later, because let's say, for example, you get the holy glasses and you have the biggest brain read to just like instantly go to the second castle. If for any reason they need to go back to the first castle, like to do the holy glasses check, Talik, for example, will know that, oh, the holy glasses is literally the only thing available, I'm going to go straight there. Whereas other players, they might have to do all these cavern checks at some point as well. So yeah, there's no way to have known, and like spending all that time in caverns, like it's an extreme risk to decide to skip a decent chunk of checks. But, and again, none of these runners have done it. Everybody is following the expected route here of clearing up as much of the first castle as you can before going to the second castle. And it definitely makes sense. You found the glasses at Succubus. It doesn't really make sense to give up inside the caverns when you're already there. There's so many checks available in front of you. Why would you just give up? Especially with so many Vlad relics still on the table. There's still 2 left on the table at this point. So I would have been very surprised if anybody decided to quit in the first castle just to go to the second castle. So
yeah, I mean, I've definitely seen some people who've done rando races in the past, even on season 2 and season 1, where they've opted to immediately go to second castle with holy glasses. And more often than not, you'd be surprised that, it doesn't pan out for them because they end up needing to go back to first castle anyways.
Yeah, it is a gamble. I was talking about it a lot before the actual official tournament races started while I was doing some casual logic of my own on stream. It feels tough to decide when to go to the second castle sometimes, because if you guess right, it's a big payout. It could be tens of minutes. But if you guess wrong, it swings the other way where you're losing tens of minutes. So I think in a race scenario, like I said, where it's not about finishing first necessarily, it's about finishing in a consistent amount of time to mitigate the amount of losing of elo. You really do want to go for what's safe a lot of the time in these kinds of races. So I think we're going to see more bigger gambles on the 1v1 side of things.
Yeah, that's definitely, I know from season 1 races that the gambles definitely happened quite often because it was done in a 1v1 setting.
Yeah.
Which ended up, obviously taking much longer to complete.
Yeah. I think one of the big reasons why you see those gambles going on is because in a 1v1 scenario, you don't really care about how bad you lose by. You just want to win. So if you lose by like a whole hour, it doesn't matter whether you lose by a whole hour or by 5 minutes or 2 minutes or 1 second. A loss is a loss in a 1v1 scenario. So if you're feeling like, oh, my execution wasn't great this run, maybe I made a mistake early on, I forgot to do something or other, in that scenario, in a 1v1, that's probably prime time to just gamble on like an unconventional route that strictly counters the standard route. Because at this point, most runners understand the standard second castle route.
Yeah, Talik in first castle, or in second castle, sorry, already did the check at Mr. Batty, and he's making his way over to Medusa. Pretty standard second castle approach here. Nothing too fishy going on.
Yeah, it's always, again, the second castle and optimizing for it, it's all about the density of relic checks you're able to do, and there just happens to be more bosses available on the right side than there are on the left side. Oh, Talik didn't save, and he is poisoned, and he got hit by a panther. That is a little bit spooky. When you don't have bat at your disposal, this area can be a little bit tricky, because you do have to avoid the balloon pods that are sitting on the floor, because the base balloon pods...
Oh, snap.
Just do so much
We have
damage.
our 4th Vlad relic at Medusa.
All right, at this point, it's most likely that the last Vlad relic is just sitting in the second castle again, just somewhere in the second castle. So, but there is the extremely slim chance that they need to get Silver Ring in the second castle and to go back to the first castle. So I wouldn't be surprised if that is the case, but again, there's no way to know until we find out. So. I would be surprised if any of the runners decide to do that as like a gamble. I'm pretty sure we're going to see pretty much every runner go for the standard second castle route from here, finishing up all of the second castle that they can before going back to the first.
Yeah, all 3 other runners are now entering second castle, which is pretty good to see. We have Jupiter a little bit behind, but the
I saw him
God's
reset
Child,
there. Did he accidentally kill Richter? Did he get the bad ending and
I
have
think
to
he
reset?
accidentally killed Richter with those
Oh,
glasses.
that can happen. Yeah.
I think he forgot to equip the glasses.
Oh, he reset at Power of Wolf. Never mind. Okay, so he was doing a save split before going. Okay, never mind.
Okay, that makes a bit more sense.
Yeah, I was just bringing it up because I've definitely done that before. I've accidentally killed Richter.
I just saw the screen fade on all 3, and I'm like, okay, everybody looks like they're at Richter. Okay, no, oh sorry, only 2 of them are.
Yeah. Again,
My apologies.
like I said, various splitting of routes here, and pretty much everybody's kind of entering the second castle around the same time. Small lead for Talek, and that could honestly be chopped up to better execution on some of his movement and not just the route itself. So it just goes to show that a lot of the route decisions in this game tend to kind of even out a lot of the time. There are some cases where you'll get, specifically if you get bat early, that can be like a runaway effect where you just continue to gain more time over your opponents and more time, depending on how quickly you find it. But, oh, there is that silver ring for...
Yep, silver ring at Akmadan.
I even noticed as Talek picked it up, he kind of gave like a scowl, like, ooh, I don't like this. And
Yeah,
understandably
he doesn't
so.
want to... He doesn't want to go back to the first castle to do that check.
I don't think he ever would. I think he would rather get last place for being the only one to not do it, because he's very much a by the books kind of player. He prefers like, this is the optimal route that will win me most amount of matches, most amount of times, and I'm gonna stick to that. And even if he gets completely blown out by everybody else deciding to not do it, he'll still stick.
I mean,
by
he's
his,
not wrong.
yeah.
He's not wrong by that logic. And he's at the same time, it's like, again, it's a gamble you have to be willing to take.
Yeah, exactly. Chemo Rocks brings up a good point. Yeah, Bat being late in a seed, being forced to be stuck behind like the second castle or something like that, it does even out a lot of the routes because it's very hard to gain a lot of time over other routes. The castle, it feels very large, and like some areas are so far away from other areas. But when you're forced to only shield dash around the castle, it kind of evens out the amount of movement you do everywhere a lot of the time. It's very difficult to tell what's the perfect route when you don't have Bat a lot of the time. So, because most of them are very, very close to each other. It's not that big of a difference. So.
I really do like this seed in general, just because they do have forms of movement, and it just not being Bat is pretty nice to see, because it allows for a bit more divergence. Like you said, it keeps runners a little bit closer together, even though their routes might be slightly different along the way.
Yeah, and we still see Talek, who I believe has just executed the best possible route, and executed just like movement-wise, still in the lead, so this still goes to show that optimal routing and optimal movement still will win you races a lot of the time, over just kind of hoping hoping that you find the right stuff. But I mean, this is randomizer. Sometimes you just get lucky, and that can be the major difference. So one thing that I will bring up overall is that the equipment that these runners are using, it doesn't seem like extremely overpowered, but it doesn't seem bad either. This is very like mid-tier, maybe high-tier equipment, so you're not going to see people using like Alucard Shield with Shield Rod spell just melting all of the enemies possible. But Vorpal Blade, regardless of the amount of damage output it does, unless it's doing like 10 damage, it's a good weapon. Anything over 10 damage on a Vorpal Blade, the faster you mash, the more DPS you get, and it ends up helping out a lot. So it's
yeah.
In this version of the randomizer where stats and attributes can be randomized, if I see something that has the description of Vorpal Blade, I'm pretty happy. And at the end of the day, you could also just use it for movement as well, because it has a faster shield dash animation.
So we have God's Child and Daigon doing the Aquadin to see the relic.
Mm-hmm. I do.
And then they're gonna see Silver Ring, and I'm not sure what they'll decide to do after getting it.
Yeah, it's gonna be on them to decide at what point to go back to the first castle. Yeah, Daigon letting out an audible fuck after collecting the Silver Ring. I feel that I think every single randomizer runner knows when they're left with like the worst possible gamble choice. In the back of your head, you're like, I don't want to lose to this. Like I would feel so bad to lose to somebody gambling right now, but you know, sometimes you just have to stay confident in your route, confident in the process of doing the best route you have available to you. I was also going to bring up Talik has been talking about doing this route that he's doing right now after fighting CV Trio, going straight through the chapel to get to Beelzebub from this side, where most players will opt to go back through the inverted, oh gosh, what is it called? Marble Gallery. The inverted Marble Gallery to get to Beelzebub, and there's like save rooms along the way. This route is theorized to be better in a lot of scenarios. I usually like this route only if I have Bat, because Bat helps you get through that room, like the stair room with the zigzags and the imps and all that stuff. That room scares the piss out of me, to be honest. Bat is just nice to just wing smash through it and ignore everybody, so I guess if you have Mist and Power of Mist, it's not too bad, but it just feels a little slow.
I mean, they do have a decent weapon to get through that area anyway, so it's not like they couldn't just like mincemeat all the imps and stuff along the way. So it's not too scary with their equipment, at least.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. Again, like I think it's a route that makes sense because I think just based off of pure like distance, it's more efficient overall, but it can still end up being I think a poor choice just due to having to deal with enemies that can slow you down significantly, specifically the imps and stuff like that. So I think it just comes down to execution. If you're willing to execute in those rooms where the imps could possibly like screw you over. I guess the flip side of it is you don't have to deal with the final guards, I guess, going towards Beelzebub, but you still have to deal with them eventually. The final guards are the final guards for a reason, because you do have to deal with them at some point. And if you're not prepared to how you want to get through that room, it is very easy to get comboed, big toss into instant death by those final guards. So this is one of the reasons why I think early second castle seeds can be very, very risky, is this room coming up right here if you're watching Talik's POV. Yep. Those final guards have the potential to just combo you instantly to death, like especially if you're using like weak equipment overall. So
yeah, those final guards are no joke. Like, they do absurd amount of damage. In fact, even the Nova Skeletons here that we're seeing Talik get through can kill players quite often.
Oh man,
when you're not prepared.
So many season 1 moments just fully clenched because of the Nova Skeletons. At the very least, they have like no HP, so you can kill them with like literally anything, but you still, I don't know, they're scary.
I mean, Talik did some good compilations from season 1 where we saw, I forget who it was, but someone got sniped by a Nova Skeleton.
Oh, it hurts so bad.
Because it hurts so much.
They also have like a really long startup for their attacks, so in general, the faster you move through those rooms, the less likely you are to get sniped by the Nova Skeletons, but they pack a freaking punch, man. Like, they're very weak. Oh, I didn't even realize what was going on here. I just looked at Daigon's POV. He did a save split to check Holy Glasses, and it was Leapstone. Oh no, that could have honestly been the big swing. That might end up putting him in a position to be in last.
Up on Talik's screen, he actually did a save split at the start of going into the reverse caverns.
And then turned back around.
And he turned back around. So he's doing what some of us referred to back in season 1 as doing the manly.
Yeah.
So he's gonna go and check creature.
So the reason why this is like a somewhat unique strategy. Oh, Talik's fumbling the movement a little bit. You need to jump off of those slopes. It's actually better to not use the skill of Wolf here and actually just run with Power of Wolf because you get stopped by these little edges here. The slopes here are a little bit glitchy with how it interacts with the wolf movement, so there's specific strategies to try and get around it, but Talik's just kind of going for the safe and easy stuff. But yeah, the reason why that save split is important is because going all the way out here to check creature is it's probably the most out of the way check in second castle, barring Galamoth. But Galamoth, at the very least, there is like a string of other checks leading up to it. So a lot of players end up either leaving creature or Galamoth for the last check, and especially in Season 1 when we were still trying to figure out the meta. The meta has fully kind of converged on it's always best, especially if you only have one relic left, to check creature, because the time lost you...
That's a big pickup for Talek if he chooses to keep it.
Oh,
it's bad.
100% you keep it. So the time it took to get over here is probably like maybe 2 minutes in total, and you're going to save that amount of time, plus just the comfort of having
He's going to be able to fly back with those mana prisms he bought.
That's
using that and get through all of the reverse caverns so much easier now to do the rest of the checks.
Yep. Yeah, especially without Bat, creature is a slow check for sure. But now that he has Bat, he can get back pretty quickly overall. He has his mana pool seems pretty high as well. So he'll probably not need to refill on mana at all by the time he gets back to the save room where he started. Another reason why that save room could be very beneficial is the fact that obviously, like, if there was nothing important at creature, you would just reset, and then you're instantly back on track to the route that you want to take. So that ends up being a useful, efficient way to maneuver.
I really hope that some of those players decide to go check creature, because if they don't, Talek's going to get a huge lead just from having Bat.
I'm 90% sure that most people opt to check creature in these scenarios, just due to the fact that they are... basically,
I don't know. Like, not having Bat to go check creature is really slow, as as it was mentioned in chat. Like, it could cost you time if it doesn't turn out to be worthwhile.
I think with the Wolf relics available, you have options, so it's not that bad. Like, if I have Wolf and Power of Wolf, or even Wolf and just Skill of Wolf, I'm pretty confident going to creature with just that. It does take a lot of MP. Oh no. Just as you say that, Daigon decides I don't need creature, because it's because he took the gamble.
Not doing creature.
He took the gamble earlier, so he's taking another gamble to offset his gamble. This is what I like to call the gambler's fallacy. This isn't exactly the gambler's fallacy.
He did make a save split. He did make a save split before going all the way up. So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
This is kind of the alternate option if you decide not to do the save split. To go to a creature, you save there, and then you reset to go to creature last. The issue is that because that save split is so prevalent in the meta, if you choose not to check creature, and creature is the last flat relic, you're basically committing to losing the race a lot of the time. So, oh my god, I just saw Talek get freaking comboed by that Venus Weed.
Yeah, so he went up there and did the check, and turned out to be nothing good. He's gonna check.
This is why I always opt to do a save split.
Stella check.
Oh yeah,
the reverse Stella check.
Yep.
I don't know even what to call this one.
This is actually incredibly scary for Talek. He has to not drop this infinite. If he gets hit by the Doppelganger's poison sword and gets poisoned, he can instantly die from a single wing smash. So this is honestly extremely tense, and that would completely throw away his lead. In this scenario, I find it absolutely crazy that he hasn't decided to save split once. Oh, that's scary. Yep. Doppelganger 40, for whatever reason, can do wing smashes in place when he's in the corner, so you have to watch out for that. But Talek, keeping his composure, not dropping the combo for the most part, and doing just fine. And we've already seen... Yeah, Daigon went there first.
Daigon already did that check, and it turned out to be a dud, so fortunately.
Yeah.
Didn't pan out.
Yeah, in general, the route that I prefer to do when I get to this point of the reverse caverns is I decide to save split and then check Force of Echo first. And if Force of Echo is nothing, I reset and then do the Doppelganger 40 fight. I see like most players, they go to Doppelganger 40 just because it's like technically closer, but I feel like the movement difference is negligible, and you get to make the most use out of that save split in that case. And again, if I have access to like mana prisms, I think that's maybe what did Talek forget that he bought mana prisms? He might have.
Possibly. I think he used them all already at this point, because before he got Bat, he had just missed, and he didn't want to slow down.
That is true, yeah. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he forgot, because that happened like nearly like 50 minutes ago when he bought those mana prisms. So a lot has happened in between then and now. And
thinking about it as well, like Daigon not having Bat maybe is why he checked after the doppelganger rather than going to do that other check.
We don't have enough time.
It would have been faster
to do a full prediction in chat, but please let me know in chat, where's the last VOD relic going to be? It's either Death or it's Galamoth. And I think I know which one you guys are going to choose.
I'm hoping it's Death, because then the suffering.
If you're a speedrunner, you're hoping it's Death. But if you're in chat, I know everybody here is hoping for Galamoth. There's a saying.
It is Death.
Oh, you're a little bit ahead of me. Damn it. Ruin the surprise. But still, yeah, if you're a speedrunner, you're happy to see it here because it's a much more efficient route to go back to the clock room, but it's pretty much a meme that it's always Galamoth, so.
Sorry that my internet is a little bit better.
Damn. Must be nice.
Nice sometimes.
But yeah.
All right, so with Talik getting all 5 Vlad relics, it's a quick teleport away back to Orlok's a TP in the reverse castle, and then he's going to head straight into the Dracula fight.
Imagine Talik is slightly stressed here because he knows some players. He just knows that people can be like irrational gamblers when it comes to running the randomizer. So he might be worried that somebody decided to go to the second castle early. And that's one of the reasons why he decided to like not go for some save splits and stuff like that. Oh, he figured out his mana prism situation. I guess that was his last one. Okay.
Yep. Likely just conserving them as best as possible.
Yeah, I mean, I think he only was able to buy like 4, which is not enough to get you through the entirety of the second castle.
Not too many. I mean, the money was nice that he had when he waited to go to the library to buy them afterwards. But I mean, he didn't have a whole lot of money, and they weren't super super cheap.
Wait,
like
everybody
he bought a lot more library cards than mana prisms, I believe.
Everybody skipped going to creature except for Talik. That's crazy. Yeah. I'm looking at everybody's screen right now, and it's like, I guess it makes sense. Like, you don't have Bat to get over there quickly, and it turns out it was Bat there the whole time. But wow. And just getting brought up here is Daigon went all the way back to the first castle and still ended up basically in second here. Second one to return back to the clock room here. Barring any like major mistakes, it looks like Daigon's going to be the next person to get to the clock room and fight Dracula.
Yeah, like Daigon made some questionable moves as far as like towards the end there with, you know, not heading to creature net. I mean, the lack of Bat kind of slows him down a little bit. Like, it just gives Talik such a big lead.
Daigon also skipped
the Chap fight.
Beelzebub. I guess that makes sense because getting to Beelzebub can be really annoying, and he doesn't have the skill of Wolf, which is what was behind Beelzebub. So wow, Daigon making an early gamble, screwing up because of the early gamble, and then making more gambles. Maybe he.
I mean, once you're a gambler, always a gambler, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's some people I know from season 1 and season 2.
You gotta double down.
Played that way.
I mean, yeah, that's crazy. I guess it makes sense because Beelzebub is an awful place to go if you don't have Bat a lot of the time. It feels very slow. And on top of that, maybe he was just trying to play to, fuck it, it's going to be... There is a weird meta gaming that you can do where if you look at your timer and you realize nobody's finished yet, you can assume that, oh, it's probably deep in the second castle. Otherwise, I would have lost already. So you can use that. Yeah. That's like the only bit of like information gathering that does exist in this randomizer. GG's to Talik, by the way. Not a terrible seed, all things considered.
Little over 1 hour, 1 hour and 9 minutes. Not too bad. I would say
it's about average.
Like on the average for the seeds, like having a seed finish in under about a minute 20 is still really good.
Yeah, hour 20, hour 15 is like kind of what I would consider like a little on the like bad to okay side of things. Anything under that is fine. If you're getting anything within like an hour and 5 or under an hour, those are the fast seeds. Those seeds feel very fast. Considering, especially in this version of the randomizer, likely you are completing the majority of both castles. There's very few opportunities to skip anything in this version of the randomizer. So,
yeah, Daigon here finishing up the shaft fight, engaging in Dracula. We'll be finishing second.
He needs to stop getting hit by the balls if he wants to make this work. So, got to be careful here if you're Daigon. Oh, okay, that's fine. Taking that damage there is okay. Most of the attacks from Dracula are extremely easy to dodge, especially if you have Mist and Power of Mist on your side, so I wouldn't be too worried, but yeah, I wish I had paid a little bit more attention to exactly what was going on between God's Child and Jupiter, because Jupiter is promptly bringing up the rear here. Also didn't go to Creature. And didn't go to didn't collect what was that.
I mean, I like honestly, like I said, I'm not surprised that the other runners didn't go to Creature, considering they had the lack of fast movement to get over there. Like, I mean, only having Wolf.
Yeah, Jupiter literally only has Wolf. Didn't find Power Wolf. Didn't find Skill Wolf. Maybe they save split those locations. I'm not sure. Wow.
Yeah. So God's Child also going into Dracula now.
Yeah.
But needs to get through Shaft first. Daigon finishing looks like second. So we're like, I mean, unless Godchild dies for some reason and not saved, Jupiter has a chance potentially. But I mean, with the gear and loadout they have, I don't see that being very likely.
Yeah, I don't see it being very likely either, but it's still a possibility. Like, Dracula can put the pressure on when you least expect it, so. Yeah, Talek saying earlier, I'm surprised nobody went early. I figured you were playing in a way that made me think that you were worried somebody went early, especially after clearing the caverns. I could tell that you were worried that somebody went early.
Yeah, like, Talek pulled off some really smart plays, very typical strategic route, and played into his favor the entire way through. Like going to do the creature check like he did, and then using that advantage he gained from Bat. I mean, it pulled him way ahead, which was pretty nice. I mean, Daigon wasn't too far behind. Given that all the gambles he did, I mean, that was crazy.
Daigon was able to make every wrong guess and still end up in second somehow. That's the Daigon. If there's anything I want Daigon to be known for, it's sometimes he just chooses wrong but still ends up doing okay. It's crazy.
Daigon's
he keeps getting away with it.
Runner, though.
Oh, for sure. I don't mean that in like as an insult by any means. It's like Daigon will do. He's the person that I'm the most worried about going for some wacky shit because he just feels like it. So, and at the end of the day, it didn't really like bite him that hard. He still ended up second place in this race. So not going to be hurting for Elo on this one. Being the only person that decided to go back to the first castle to check Holy Glasses and still ended up in second. So that's not a bad showing.
Like, that blows my mind that he actually did go back to first to do the check there. But it's crazy. You could see the relief on his face.
Mm-hmm.
After finishing that, but like, yeah, what a race! Like, late Bat.
GG's to God's Child getting third place in this race here, and finishing up the rear Jupiter here. So I'm not too honestly, I would consider that for God's Child like a pretty decent performance overall. Like, very close to getting second, and I think it was just the very end Daigon was able to. I wasn't exactly sure what he did, but he pulled something out of his ass. Mostly skipping, I think, Beelzebub and Creature was what done him in and helped him catch back up. I mean,
he skipped some checks, that's for sure. I mean, he made some gambles, maybe did some stuff late along the way with the route that he chose, but I mean, it paid off for Daigon in the end. Did allow him to secure second.
So you can't really be, like I said, I think it's very easy to get upset that you're like, you lose a placement or you get third instead of second because somebody went for a gamble. But that is this game at the end of the day. The gambles can pay off big sometimes. So GG's to everybody. If you do the correct route and execute properly, the majority of the time you should be winning. And that is kind of the where the meta, I think, has kind of gone. But we're seeing people really hungry for Elo, so maybe some crazy stuff eventually comes out because of that. So nonetheless, GG's to everybody. Assuming that
excellent race.
Yeah, assuming that nothing bad happens to Jupiter should be finishing up here.